Which companies should you not work for? So this is another one of those life lessons that nobody teaches you in the early days of your career life. You work for the wrong company and it might set you back years financially and from a career development perspective too. Here, I just said it out loud. It may set you back financially and from a career development perspective as well. So this advice alone can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even millions of dollars, depending on your role and your position. It may make the difference between you working until you are 65 or 67 years old, or you being financially independent by the time you reach your mid-30s or early 40s. Yes, in my opinion, this can be such a dramatic difference in your life, and nobody really talks about it, so I will explain. Hi, my name is Christoph Putz and I'm a senior IT manager with over 22 years experience working in various roles in different industries for different companies. So first of all, I have to admit, I really realized my earnings potential way too late in my career. But now rest assured, I have no regrets. I cannot change the time going back. I am making the best of what I know today now. But it is something that I wish I would have known earlier. Nobody ever said really a word. My peers did not know better either. We were all on the same path in a certain way. And I find this frustrating. So now let's talk about which companies should you not work for. And this is not a long list of company names that I will start reading. That's not what this video is about. That would be impossible and I don't think it would deliver value in any way. But to determine which company not to work for, we will look at company sizes, business model of what they do, leadership, the stage of their existence, and of course the industry they are in. So let's start with company size. First of all, the size or the number of employees is not a good indicator because there are too many small companies where you can have a great career and make a shit ton of money. So think about like startup companies as an example. Besides taking a leap of faith into the idea that they have and hiring on as one of their first employees, if you would go strictly by size, it would be a big no-no to work for them. So size is not a good indicator. But let's look at the business model and the leadership. So here I'm talking about the small mom and pop type of business where it is less entrepreneurial. In reality, mom and pop created their own jobs and they are self-employed, and that's really the word, self-employed. The key difference here is if you are in an environment that is entrepreneurial, you may be in the right place. If it looks more like self-employment with a hidden emphasis on the word employment in this regards, then you are in the wrong place. I hope you get the idea of what I'm saying. So some people just become self-employed, they just create their own jobs, but it's not really that they have a big vision of growth. There's no excitement about where the journey is going. So most smaller businesses are really missing that specific item. There's no excitement, there's no long-term path for real growth. And I mean just not like 5% this year, 10% this year now. We're talking hundreds or 1,000% of growth. Being self-employed, it can be the road to riches for the owner, but it's usually not the same for the employees, and that's where you would be potentially. So you may be better off just copying their business model and go into business for yourself if you really enjoy that type of work. So as an example here, the local IT support managed services provider, that's a great example. The people that own the company, lead the company, they will make good money. Everyone else is just their normal employee and makes an average salary. So that's not really the path that you want to be on if you want to make a lot of money, if you want to have career growth that is way above average. Or think about the local web design agency or search engine optimization agency, anything in that regards where you code HTML, CSS and some other stuff. So even if they are a bit bigger and they work with larger clients, usually when you work for these agencies, you make an average salary, you get average benefits. So that's again nothing that really will drive you forward. I'm not saying that these are bad places to work at, but I'm looking at this from the motivated professional that I assume you are. You want to make a lot of money, you want to potentially become financially independent. It's so critical that you look at it from that perspective, and an average salary, where will that get you? Let's assume here really that you would be losing out on $50,000 per year. Just think about it, $50,000 over 10 years, that's $500,000, $500,000. And the numbers can be very different. So you might be looking at $100,000 that you're missing out by working at the wrong companies. It's really that snowball effect and nobody really talks about it. So I'm frustrated from that perspective, and I hope this video really opens your eyes and lets you reconsider when you look at the job openings in your local area who you want to work for. So I hope you get the idea. I'm simplifying this here for the purpose of the video. But now let me cover the industry portion and the stage of existence for this first, and then we will talk about leadership last. So the industry selection can be super critical. There are significant differences in pay, especially when it comes to bonus and stock equity as part of the overall pay package. So of course there are smaller pockets of roles in most industries in one way or the other. You can make a lot of money there. That's not what I'm talking about. So an example would be here, you're an investment banker, you're working at Wall Street, but we're talking information technology here. So those high bonuses that the Wall Street bankers get, they're not getting to your bank account. So information technology only for this video here. So now think about roles like cybersecurity, big data, artificial intelligence. Yes, there are roles in different companies and you can make a lot of money. But on the broader front, really for the larger group of information technology professionals, that doesn't apply. So they would be making average salaries in those areas. So for this video, I'm looking more broad and I want to point out where IT professionals in general can expect a higher than average salary, get bonus and stock equity in amounts that you have never imagined potentially. Example, do you work for a government entity? Forget about bonus and stock equity. There's just no stock equity that you can have for the US government. Below market pay on average, yeah, that's standard for government jobs. You can potentially get a pension. But yeah, pension sounds appealing in a certain way because Social Security is so bad, but you have to wait decades usually to get it. And who knows what that looks like at the very end. If the government is broke, your pension is not worth anything. So government work may be stable. And if that's what you're after, go for it. But you also need to consider the impact to your skill set. So from a technology perspective, you can expect late adoption of new technology in most cases, very limited budgets in many ways in all areas really. There is not really the cool technology that you can play with. When a government entity catches up to technology, it's usually the proven technology that is already several years out in the market. So for me, that is not very appealing because an outdated skill set in information technology, no, that translates into lower pay and higher risk of unemployment if you ask me. So this was government, but now let's look at where can you find average pay. Average pay really can be found in most traditional industries like construction, food, manufacturing, media like newspapers, TV, information providers and conglomerates, retail industry, hospitality, finance, insurance and so on. You get the idea. So those are traditional industries in my definition for this video here. Yes, there are roles in IT at these companies where you could make above average pay. But let's look at this here really from the broader angle as mentioned before. Let's look at bonuses and stock equity. So if you are looking at an accelerated salary growth and career options, companies in those traditional sectors, they are not your best choice. Yes, you can have a career there, but again, we're looking at that little extra here. So are these solid places to work at? Absolutely, sure, nothing wrong with that. But as mentioned again, you have the choice between companies in these sectors and companies that look at human capital very differently. So it should be an easy choice if you are very motivated and driven. So on the flip side then, which companies and industries or sectors should you consider to make above average income as an IT professional? So while there are many exceptions from the rule, you want to look for jobs in the larger tech industry and pharmaceutical industry as an example. But there are a few things first to consider as well. So let's look at the technology industry with obvious choices like Google, Apple, Microsoft, LinkedIn, Netflix, Facebook, and many others of that caliber. So established players where above average pay is the norm and great benefits too. So especially if you are a software engineer, I mean, the pay is just fantastic and it trickles down to other IT roles as well. So you can expect more. And so this is for the larger group really of IT professionals. Of course, if you work in a help desk role, above average doesn't mean that you're suddenly making millions of dollars per year. So just from that expectation, let's just be real here. So, but where it really becomes interesting for individuals working for these companies is the bonus and the stock equity, because that can really take an average salaried position and move it to way above average. And with me saying above average, I mean really above average. So these companies have usually above average growth. They have super high revenues and profits. They aim to hire the brightest and most talented people. They have really strict hiring standards, so really high hiring standards. They have a system in place to retain that talent, and the above average pay with the potential multiplier of options, stock bonus, and equity, they are just part of the game. So then there are tech companies that should not be your first choice from my perspective. So these are established tech companies that slowly have turned into those fat, slow-moving giants in a certain way. And again, these could be great companies to work for. So think Oracle and IBM, not bad places to be at, but these are huge companies and they're just like having average revenue, average profits. So there are plenty of roles where you can make a lot of money at those companies, but from a broader perspective, for the larger group of IT professionals, the growth at these companies is slow, and that translates into more average pay, average bonus, if a bonus at all, and the same thing applies to the stock equity. So these shouldn't be your first choice from my perspective. Smaller tech companies, startups, niche players. There are some great opportunities here as well. But your earnings potential is much more tied to share or stock equity, a potential IPO, or becoming acquired. And if you're not sure really, I do offer career coaching, and yeah, just 1 or 2 sessions can really make a big difference for you as you have to make those decisions in your life and where it really matters from your career development. So I put the link down in the description. If you want to take a look, please check it out. I'll be more than happy to help. Quickly coming back to those startup companies, the smaller ones, you won't retire early based on promises. You will retire early based on money in your investment accounts. So just think about it. It might be the best product in your opinion. They have some decent investments, everything good. But yeah, money needs to come. And the promise of an IPO, well, there are quite a few examples out there where this never happened and you wasted a lot of time. So do your homework. I'm saying nothing wrong with it, but do your homework. So let's look at the pharmaceutical industry. Big pharma, of course, publicly hated by so many, but quite lucrative to be part of that, especially if you find an opportunity like a well-funded startup company. So keep in mind, again, like with the other startup companies in the tech sector, there are plenty of pharma or life sciences companies that will never make it. Their idea of a drug or medication or product in that range, it will be a bust. They have to go through clinical trials. It will never come to a live product. So just be aware there are quite a few companies that never make it, and the same could apply to your money. But that's really where it becomes so critical to think about, okay, how can you mitigate that risk that is involved a little bit? So you could start networking with peers and friends, and it can have that critical inside knowledge or give you an idea that it is a good opportunity. When you see those opportunities and these companies becoming acquired, or they go public, or they have an exploding stock price because their product their drug just became FDA approved, you know what that means really when you're part of that crazy ride. So your stock equity that you have will go up through the roof. So the smaller pharma or life sciences companies, great potential, great opportunity, but again, do your homework. And then really we have big pharma. So those are the big companies out there. They offer good pay. They offer decent bonus and some stock equity, but it's the same thing as with the traditional industries. These are large companies, so they have really peaked a long time ago. They have solid revenues and profits, but nothing that really drives explosive growth. There's nothing really happening that will drive that stock price up or suddenly change the trajectory of the company. They maybe even just be living off acquisitions that they do just to have new product lines in the pipeline. So here you could think of companies like Pfizer, AstraZeneca, or maybe Merck. So those are not bad places to be at, but for this video, if you want to look at these places, they are not the ones that provide that accelerated income growth. And yeah, you have to make your decision. I mean, good places to work at, but it depends on your stage in life and it depends on your goals. So that's very important. So this was really a generic view at industries and companies not to work for from my perspective. I also want you to understand really you need to look at the job opportunities, and if you want to have this accelerated income growth, and those income opportunities, they also do not always come your way. So when you have an opportunity, it's extremely critical to look at those and decide, yes, now is the time to go there. For me personally, I missed out on a few opportunities. In a way, I'm paying the price now by not having as much money in my investments. So I'm really a good example from that side. But I also feel I'm a good example from the other side, because I had these opportunities, and especially the last roughly 5 years, I can see it firsthand how these things can turn around when you are at the right place at the right time. So the company I worked for, the stock price exploded. The company got acquired, so there was a big payout. It was also from a bonus perspective really that there was way above average bonus pay, and it makes a difference. So once you are in such a position of growth, it is amazing really to see how it can change your life and the trajectory of your career. So I hope this video shows you a little bit how decisions where to work and for whom to work can change the trajectory of your life and your financial situation. It can easily make a difference of millions of dollars in lost earnings when not putting a bit more planning into your job search and making the right decisions. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And then if you have not subscribed, please do so as well. I would really appreciate it. So I hope this video really caught your interest and maybe has your creative thoughts going a little bit about your career. So thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye.